Well, shaking cats and kittens, Rob Lee here for this month's presenting sponsor, Night Owl Gallery. Night Owl Gallery is an intimate, artist-run exhibition space showcasing the original paintings and fine art prints of Beth Ann Wilson. Also, it features curated goods from local artists and craftsmen. You'll be sure to find one-of-a-kind gifts, handcrafted jewelry, home decor items, along with a few vintage treasures. Located in the rear of 248 South Conklin Street in Highlandtown, across from Sally O's, Night Owl Gallery is a unique space that brings together Wilson's love of the arts, community, and culture. Additionally, Night Owl Gallery hosts an array of arts and crafts workshops throughout the year and participates in community events, many of which are free and open to the public. So in this ever-changing world, safety is their priority. So feel free to join them and hit them up online at www.nightowl.gallery. Tell them Rob Lee sent you. Well, shaking cats and kittens, I'm Rob Lee from Getting to the Truth in This Art. And this podcast is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Bazaar. Bazaar is a gift shop for those seeking the strange and unusual. Got morbid curiosity? Got an interest in natural history? Bazaar's got you covered. Bazaar specializes in antique medical equipment, jewelry, prints, funerary antiques, and many other morbid gifts. The inventory is ever-changing. I'm wearing a great death's head moth pin, and I'm enjoying this hand-poured candle called Overgrown Cemetery. It's great. It has the studio smelling awesome. Head on over to 3534 Chestnut Avenue in Baltimore, it's in that Hamden neighborhood, and see what they got to offer at Bazaar. Tell them Rob Lee sent you. Welcome to Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee, and today's guest is a self-proclaimed beer and coffee nerd, food enthusiast, and Baltimore advocate. Please welcome Andrew Cosentino. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm super stoked to be here. I started listening to your podcast a few months ago, kind of binged them, and I've really loved them. So I'm really excited about this.
Well, thank you. Thank you for listening. It's big to hear back from people. I've gotten a few people who are like, "Oh, I'm fans. I'm a fan of what you do," and it's like, appreciate you.
I'm definitely a fan. Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear. And I came across you from like checking out your IG, and I was like, hold on, because you start looking at. I try to be a person that's dipped into what's happening when it comes to what's happening around the city, but definitely what's happening in different restaurants. And I was like, some interesting like food posts here. It's like this guy's getting out and about. So give me that rundown of like why you used your Instagram and your social media in that kind of manner, and how's that response been?
So it started from really a place of love for me. I love this city so much. I don't know what it is about Baltimore, but there's something about it that I really identify with. Kind of a city that I think has a lot to offer, but still really has a chip on its shoulder. And I know that you've talked about this a lot in your podcast, but gets an unfortunate amount of negativity. And I really wanted to, I guess kind of a lot of what I started doing, which is I really like the city a lot. And I would always talk to people about recommendations, things to do, stuff like that. And I noticed that people started asking me, hey, what restaurant should I go to? What neighborhood should I go to? Stuff like that. And around the same time, I was kind of taking pictures of food, and casually, they were really bad pictures. So if you go really far back, I didn't delete them just so I can make fun of myself sometimes and look at them. And I realized people liked them. I started taking beer pictures, and I was out with some friends, and somebody approached me and was like, oh, you're that guy. And I was like, how does somebody know me? Like, I don't even have a public account. And I said, okay, I'll make it public and start doing it. And then I started taking pictures more and more. And I realized this is kind of a little selfish. I realized people engaged more with the food pictures than other stuff and like the beer pictures. And I just enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed photography. When I was in high school, I was in like a photography club, and we'll go in the dark room and do all that stuff. So I've always liked photography, and I've always really loved the city. And I think those two kind of melded into this. So I think it was kind of my way of being able to take pictures. I love editing the pictures, and it's a fun thing I like doing. It's kind of a hobby. And also at the same time, I'm able to promote a lot of businesses and stuff that I genuinely get excited about. I've been told that I'm overly excitable at times. So for better or worse, I use a lot of exclamation marks. They're not disingenuine. I just am genuine. generally excitable. So.
No, I dig it, and that comes through in the messages that you and I definitely have exchanged.
Thanks.
And it's just like, here's some positive energy. Here's something to get you up for the day, because sometimes you're like, is anyone listening? Does anyone care? How did the episode do? And it's like, yeah, hell yeah, dude, stoked. Let's get it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I mean, as far as that's concerned, yeah, I think that positivity goes a long way. I mean, not to the point where that's all you are is positive, but I think that it's important to be positive about places and promote them, and particularly when it comes to local businesses, because I think that really is the lifeblood of a city. And when I go to cities, like my favorite thing to do is go to restaurants and go to cafes and, see things. And that's part of the culture of a city. And I think that promoting that's important.
So with it, would you say your amount of time spent using like social media in this manner has gone up during the pandemic? Was it something that you were kind of working on before things got weird and funky?
I don't know if it's really changed. I guess the venues have changed, because it went from like being at restaurants, and then you slowly see it's all carry out, and then like I go like outdoor dining, and then the winter comes and it's back carry out. But I haven't noticed any different as far as like usually, like I as much as I post throughout the week, it's all a lie. I really only go out on weekends to dinner, and I just, usually weekends we'll get 3-4 meals out or something. So that really hasn't changed much. So no, I haven't seen an impact with the pandemic at all. The only thing I will say is I do notice a bit of a difference in the way I approach restaurants. I think that it's just a tough time for them, and I really empathize with them quite a bit. And just trying to be nice and treat them like humans and not just transactional, I think is important. Just because it's a tough year.
I think that's the thing that's gotten lost. Like, and I think that's one of the byproducts of even within the initial conversation for this podcast of not necessarily look at quote unquote the guest as this is what you do. That's a component of it. Like, this is the art that you're putting out. There's the food you're putting out of your business and so on. But these are people, and being able to have that same empathy, have that same understanding that they have they have crappy days just like you can. Things can get messed up just like, and I think also during this last year and change, or closer to 2 years now, that some businesses, they've had their real dealings kind of pop up. What they may really be about, or another layer to what they're about, pop up sometimes in a positive way, where you see people doing work within the community, really good work within the community. And then you've seen other ones who they may need to make some changes, or they may not be around once we come back out. So and fully back out, because I feel like as my dad would say, we got a hot month outside with no mask, and how things are shutting down or what have you. What traits do you look for within a business outside of like, you're literally endorsing a business? Like, this is something that I rock with. This is a restaurant that I rock with. What traits do you look for within that patronage?
So I pretty exclusively focus on local businesses. You won't see me do anything that's even, I feel like even the places have like 4 or 5 locations. I'm like, is that quite local enough?
Right.
So I think that's really important to me. I try and do as much behind the scenes research before I go to places. I'll get into this a little more later, but I really try and promote places that have similar views to me, and places that I can really get behind. And I feel like where your money goes is very important, and where so to go to a place just because it has good food or it has Instagrammable pictures, like, that's not for me. I'd rather go to a place where I really can feel like I'm supporting somebody who's actually like a good person. And, and I think that's really important to me. Just as a side note, something I really love that really excites me, like the most excited I get, is when I see collaborations between places.
Yeah.
Recently, Monument City, Black Sauce, which if you guys haven't had Black Sauce, you need Black Sauce. And Off the Rocks, which is my absolute favorite liquor store in the city. Gerald, their owner, is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Like, they're doing a collaboration to make a beer, and that kind of stuff got me really excited. So that's another kind of aspect of things I look at quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it's community oriented, where I've been to each one of these places. I'm a big fan of the biscuits. I eat way too many, and that's why I have to go to the gym every morning. But yeah, like Black Sauce is fire, and Off the Rocks, great, Monument, great. And I think it's I call it ignorance. I call it ignorance in this sense, that I may not know a person's business or how it's structured, but I would like to see something like this happen. And generally it's always a collaboration.
Yeah.
It's like, this place has, they source these ingredients that you use.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have a place, but maybe just partner on this thing and maybe both parties can eat. And I think in doing this podcast, I always like, hey, you ever talk to these people? No. It's like, have a conversation. Just say, hey, I heard about you on this, and see if you can bring those things together. But when it works out and two parties come together or multiple parties come together, it's just chef kiss. It's just, this is great. This is what you want to see. Because I'm a whore for my name on things, and if I can see my name on someone's menu, like this is like Rob's short rib sandwich.
Do you have any signature menu items yet?
Not yet.
Okay. All right.
I'll give you some insight though. I have standard things. I always get the same thing for wherever I go, right?
Okay.
And my go-to coffee place is Sophomore.
The best. Yeah. So, it's written down as a place to mention because Chris is awesome and Sophomore is great. Yeah.
Absolutely. And my standing order, it's literally every Sunday, and to the degree that they know it. I switched it up recently. Everything started coming down. The wall started coming down. I was like, look, I need an iced coffee, little cinnamon, simple syrup. Thanks. And literally that's what it is. It's a very simple order. And I'm like, I'm getting 3 of those, by the way. So I switched it up and I got that. It's one that's got like, it's a drink. It's a cold drink that has like some fizz in it.
Like an espresso and tonic.
Yeah, it's similar to that, but it's like a little bit of like maybe hibiscus or something in it.
Okay.
And I've added that recently, and it's like, hold on. You didn't get the normal.
So do you get the cold brew then?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No, their cold brew is very good. Yeah.
And I mean, I have stories with Sophomore. I burnt my nose once there.
Coffee?
Yeah, I was doing a cupping with Chris, and he was giving me the run.
Yeah, you gotta watch out. Yeah,
he was trolling me a little bit. He was like, "You really got to get your nose in there and sniff it, Rob." And it was hot coffee that I sniffed because I wanted to learn what the flavors and the smells of how all those things kind of interact. And that sniff was a snort, and I was unhappy afterwards.
Yeah, you're supposed to smell it, not absorb it. So,
look, I need to get it in my veins as quickly as possible. So no judgment here.
Yeah, that works.
So what would you say? Because I guess like, there is this weird community of kind of the influencer, the foodie people, and everyone, and it's not a shot on that, but it's like some people look at that as their identity. And I would imagine because they're putting it out there, you have people who have feedback, whether it be positive or negative, or there's some good things about like writing or posting and taking pictures for different restaurants. What's your take on kind of that scene and kind of being part of it right now?
I don't feel like much a part of that scene. Honestly, I don't like hang out with foodies. I mean, I follow a lot of people and they're like people I interact with, but it's not like I feel like I still feel very independent and autonomous, and I feel no pressure to do anything, which is nice. I don't really do anything I'd never do anything for money. I've done a few things where people have given me free stuff, but there's never been an expectation there or anything. I mean, if somebody's going to offer me free food, cool. But I don't want it to get to the point where it feels like a job. To me, that's really important. And I think a lot of these people use it to monetize things and promote themselves. And I really don't care that much about it. I mean, I don't really, for example, I know that my beer pictures, because I look at what happens, I know my beer pictures get the least likes. They are by far the most effort and the most thought and the most time that goes into it. I took a picture recently of a Peabody beer, and I went to Camden Yards 3 times to see where the light was better, because you can kind of look at the sun and gauge it, but you don't know And I think, that stuff that gets me excited. So I wouldn't say that I'm by any means chasing likes, because I know that there's certain things that people aren't going to like, but whatever, they're fun pictures to take and they're the ones I enjoy the most. So I understand the negativity about what you're saying about people like being influences or foodies and stuff. So I try to distance myself from that, but I don't think there's anything wrong or immoral about it. It's just not, I just don't want it to be something that I stress about. I want it to be something I enjoy and something I use as more of a promotional tool for Baltimore in general. Like nothing excites me more than when I am, I don't know, talking to somebody and they're like, oh, you posted that picture, I went there. And it's like a good friend of mine. I'm like, why didn't you ask me this? Like, but they'll be like, oh, I went to, wherever the other day and it was great. And I was like, oh, why didn't you, I'm happy that I inspired you, but it would have been cool to know ahead of time. So yeah, I mean, that's all I really want to do. It's just get people trying places out and being more adventurous in everything in the city. Just, going to different neighborhoods, going to different restaurants, trying different cuisines. Because I think there's so much out there and there's just so many great options. And I think that allowing people to see those is hopefully good for the city to some degree.
I agree with that. I like pretty much everything that you said there. I'm on the same page, and I was kind of expecting that response because I'm looking at it and I was just like, it's not there's a certain air of whackness with certain influencer types, and that's really not the vibe that I'm getting off of you. You're just like, look, I like this stuff, and I'm going to post about it. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, I'm not. The people who have to go to dinner with me, aka my wife, get a little annoyed sometimes. So I'm like, wait, but the light is terrible. If I walk over to the next table that's empty, so that's
that's great.
Yeah, so they get a little annoyed at other people sometimes, but she gets free cookies and stuff, so it's all good.
I mean, I have that same thing when I'm out and I've had people in my ear saying, oh, well, you should be at this thing. I was like, oh, I was already going anyway. Like, it's this thing of like the guests that I have on. It's like, why do you seem like you're really interested in them? I was like, because I am.
Yeah.
It's not, to your point, it's not a job. When it doesn't feel like it's fun, it feels like it's work. I'm less interested in doing it. And that's not the direction I really want to go with anything that I'm involved in. I want to do something that is like, I'm not being paid by these people. I'm not getting anything out of it other than maybe putting some eyes and maybe some ears on the story around this place and the people that are working there. That's about it.
Yeah.
And I've seen your Orioles pictures. You've been doing some good. The lighting works. You've put some work in there. I see it. I see what you got going on. So, most unusual talent, because obviously you have a regular like day job that is probably outside of what you're doing with this project. So speak on some of your unusual talents if you have any that come to mind, because some people are just boring, and I don't know if you are. That's why I'm asking.
I like to think I'm not that boring, but maybe I am. So interests I have. So this is more of an interest rather than unusual talent. So I'm really into music a lot. I actually used to have a radio show in college. So I always gravitated towards music. I am not musically inclined. If you were to ask me what talent I wish I had, I wish I was musically gifted, but I really love music. So I guess that was kind of an odd talent. One very unusual thing I'm really into is sports uniforms.
Okay.
So there's a blog, UniWatch. It's like my favorite thing. I read it every day, and I am often a contributor. So if you go on there and like search my name, you'll see that I'm always they have a ticker, which is like they pretty much have a entry every day. And then at the end have a running list of news items. And
I'm on there now. I'm checking it out now.
I'll contribute to it. And people will be like, is that noteworthy? Like, why? Like, who cares? Like, this guy's stirrups match his Sannies, and this is a big deal. People are like, what are you talking about? Like, there are these words that you use. So yeah, I like sports uniforms. I mean, I like sports in general, but sports uniforms, you really want to get me worked up. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then since this is off the cuff now, since you've gotten my attention, you got my ears open, more so than they were before. How far do you go back in your baseball love?
Baseball is interesting. So, I mean, I remember I vaguely remember going to. I think I remember going to Memorial Stadium more than anything.
Okay.
Camden Yards. I mean, I've always been going there. I mean, I remember going to the All-Star Game Convention Center thing in '93. So it was the second year. I remember going to a Mariners-Orioles game that was Randy Johnson versus Mike Messina.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
it goes back pretty far. We used to have partial season tickets. And my family, so this is getting a little off track here.
yeah.
Even though I didn't grow up in the city, I always had a lot of city ties. My grandmother lived by Patterson Park. So we used to visit her all the time. She lived there my whole life. So I was in the city a lot. My dad and I used to have season passes to the aquarium and the science center. And then we used to have partial season tickets to the Orioles back to that. So I feel like I was always in the city a lot, even though I didn't live in the city. I always felt very connected to it. And because my grandmother was here, I had an aunt who lived in Highland Town. So I always felt like I was in the city a lot.
I dig it.
Yeah.
So the question that I have, it relates because I used to work for the Orioles at one point. So this relates. Albert Bell, these are the Albert Bell years.
Okay.
Just for context.
It's going to be rough. Yeah.
And it goes to your unis thing. Why don't they have the futuristic jerseys anymore?
You did a great piece on this. So they have a podcast called Unified. It's with him and another guy who runs sportslogos.net, another really cool website if you really want to nerd out. They just did one on the future uniforms, the 2021 was one of them, and then I think another 2025. Yeah, those are ridiculous. They're very polarizing. Some of them are great. Most of them are really bad. But yes. I mean, it's fun. It even gets into like the NBA because they do like the City Connect jerseys and all that stuff. Or I'm sorry, they do I can't remember the name. Baseball is doing the City Connect now, where they have all the other special jerseys. I don't love the one. I mean, they're okay once in a while. I just think it's tough when a team loses its identity. Like this year, like if you see like the Celtics wearing gray or the Red Sox wearing whatever, like UCLA colors. That's the only time it annoys me a little bit.
Yeah.
They're weird. They're interesting. I mean, and for baseball, you have 162 games, whatever, a game or two, who cares?
Yeah, throw out something for your theme nights and all of that stuff because, people are going to come out there for that. And, one of the things that I dug, I think that was done effectively was what the Brooklyn Nets did. Because like in the last couple of years, they had iconography that's synonymous to, that part of New York. Like, what was it? Last year or the year before, they had like the Coogee trim around the jerseys, like the Biggie or the Basquiat, like iconography. And I was like, that works. But then other places, it's just like, this is not even your color scheme. I think the Jazz comes to mind.
That's the key, the color scheme. It's like the Trailblazers had new uniforms and they were brown. And it's like, that's not your colors, guys. Like the Red Sox, at least Brooklyn, it was with the black theme and like they're black and white.
Yeah.
So it's more thematically consistent. Whereas when you have a team do some ridiculous color, the Marlins did a cool one. They did a throwback jersey. It was like they did a really interesting one. And it was a different color scheme, but it was still a throwback to, it wasn't a Negro League team, but it was something like that. And that was like a cool concept to me, even though it was a different color scheme, but at least tied to the city more so. So some of these got a little over the top, but they can be fun. It's all about merchandising though. It's, if they can sell it, they'll do it. So,
I mean, the one thing that I need them to do, and I haven't seen it available, it's Orioles related, but the 67 like cuckoo bird, the one that looks all brolic with the bat, that's the one it's like the muscular bird. Yeah. That's the one that I want on something, whether it be a hat, whether it be an Under Armour shirt. I'm gonna need that in a size 2X. Thank you.
You can find some good throwback stuff. It takes a little bit of exploring, but you can find it.
But you've given me two sites to look up, so I'm going to be nerding out.
Yeah, no, those are great for like general uniform nerding out. It's way overly detail oriented, but it's fun.
I like to get into the weeds of it. You should listen to my movie podcast.
Yeah. I mean, it's overly detailed, but it's it's cool. I enjoy it. It's a little hobby.
So we've added that to it. You have beer, coffee, food, Baltimore, and you're a sports kind of guy. You're a background sports guy.
Yeah, that's a little more. I think that's the one that people don't expect as much. Like I think that there's like friends of mine who are really into sports and view in that perspective more. But then there are a lot of people who don't realize I'm as into sports as I am. But it's like I'm the least emotional sports fan ever. Like I don't get worked up about stuff. I'm a very, to a fault, maybe analytical sports fan. So
see, yeah. Mm-hmm. Had a background on sabermetrics or something, right? Yeah. I bet. So you post on the food stuff or what have you. What comes to mind when you don't have to say it as one particular meal, but as far as this year at this point, what was something that really just dropped your jaw, like the best like food item or items that you've had that just come up that this is remarkable. This is a good piece of something that I've had.
So I'll talk specifically about this year. Sure. These aren't necessarily like favorite throughout Baltimore, but some things I really like a lot. Petit Louis has a really nice outdoor area now. Everything Foreman Wolf, I think, is phenomenal. I really love everything they do. And they have a really nice outdoor area. We went out there to dinner not too long ago, and their duck is always great. Their cucumber salad, I would never think cucumber salad should be this good. It's amazing. I think that was one of my favorite meals of this year. Choose Chesapeake does a lot of cool stuff. I think that even though they're pretty limited on entrees, some of their appetizers are awesome. They just do really cool small plates, and their oysters are great. And not to stay on the oyster train here, but Dylan's also I've really liked a lot. I had one of the best soft shell crab sandwiches I've ever had from them. Like my mind was blown at how good it was. And I love, if you can get a soft shell crab sandwich, I feel like if I see it, I have to get it. And theirs was phenomenal. Like it was one of the best. I don't know what it was about it. I think they had, I don't know, whatever they did, their own aioli or whatever, something special. And it was phenomenal. I loved it.
I had that same vibe about I guess they colloquially call it the Baltimore Club.
From Local Oyster?
It's not
like
local.
Chino's thing?
No. So this used to be before they closed. What's the place in Midtown? Because I know Food Market, I think, has a salmon version of it. Anything that's like a BLT that actually, or a club sandwich that actually has either crab on there or shrimp salad or something like that. That's that go-to. City Cafe had a really good one.
Okay, yeah, they did close recently.
Yeah, and that was my go-to. I feel like there's one other place that has it, and rumor has it that the chef that came up with it that was at City Cafe moved to this new location. So like the sandwich lives on just at a different venue now. So that's my go-to. Yeah.
So if you like that, oh my God, I always mispronounce the name. Napolari Smokery. It's in Belvedere Square.
Yeah.
They're a smoked salmon sandwich. I feel like that'd be up your alley.
Okay. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. If you like that like combo of the fish and the smoked salmon with the bacon, it's great. You won't be disappointed.
I'm a fan. I'm gonna have to check that out. You've sold a ticket. All right. The last question that I have, I'm gonna let you use your advocate wings right here. For those who are on the fence about visiting Baltimore, and granted, we have some things in the way right now, but just generally speaking, best case scenario, everybody's vaxxed, everyone's healthy. There's not a pandemic we're around. So people are coming to Baltimore. Why should they come to Baltimore? Why should they visit?
So I think that Baltimore is a really great city. I don't know. It's a fun city. It's a quirky city. It's a weird city, but it embraces its weird. And I think that it knows it's a weird city. And I think that it has a definite chip on its shoulder. I feel that way. I feel like I know that I'm always very defensive when people say something negative about Baltimore. And I'm always the first to defend it because I think that people have a lot of negativity about it. I'm trying to stay positive here as much as possible, but I think a lot of it comes from a place of bigotry, honestly. I think that that's what a lot of the fear comes from, of people saying, "Oh, I don't want to go into Baltimore." And a lot of that is coded language to mean something else.
Yes.
And yeah, and I think that that's very frustrating to me. And I think people are apprehensive. And it's more than just the harbor. It's not like when people are like, oh, I want to come visit Baltimore and go to the harbor. I'm like, but there's so many other great neighborhoods. And I notice here compared to other cities, I'll use the complete opposite city that also happens to be close in proximity. If you go to like DC, for example, it feels very, I don't want to say cold, but I don't feel that, I feel like it's very based on what you do. I think Baltimore cares a lot about the people here. And it's a very tight-knit neighborhood city. And I think it's a very warm city and a city where people really are friendly and really do care about the city. To a fault, we have a lot of people have a unhealthy amount of civic pride. And I think you and I are probably included in that category. And I just think it's a fun city. There's a lot to do. I always have friends visit and I always love it. And I just think that it has a bad reputation because it has a bad reputation. Any city is going to have its problems, and I'm not going to, I'm not naive enough to say Baltimore doesn't, because there are a lot of issues that date back hundreds of years that the city is still dealing with. And, I could go off on that for hours, but, I think that there's just a lot of great stuff here. And I think that there's great food, great museums, a lot of different cool neighborhoods that you can get such a different experience. Like the difference between going to, man, my mind went blank here. Going to Cafe De Leon in Canton and eating there is completely different than going to like Hamden and walking around there, or going to Mount Vernon, or, it's just, there's a lot of diversity. Or if you go up to like Mount Washington, or, there's all of these different places with different vibes and stuff that I think makes it a really interesting city.
I completely agree. And I think in some ways there's an effort to, for people that are here, we know the lines, I think, of this is actually in Baltimore. Like some people think that Hamden is not, or some people think that these different areas that we know are in the city footprint, oh, they're not. It's like they are. So if you're showing the city, and if you're, having people come, show them the range, show them around the city, not just like you said earlier, it's not just the harbor. It's not just, even for some of the locals, not even the trendy spots. It's, for every time you go to Station North, you should probably go to West Baltimore. You should probably check out all of these different areas to get a holistic view of what the city is about, and be mindful of what you're doing. Like you said earlier, I'm not naive enough to say, oh, well, there's nothing wrong here. I think let's normalize it. Like each one of these cities, when we have these conversations of the cities that have like culture, that have an identity attached to them, you start looking like, okay, how are these cities similar, or what have you? And that's the thing that I look for. Like New Orleans, love New Orleans. New Orleans has its issues just like Baltimore, but it's not ramped up and discussed in the same way that Baltimore is in terms of the issues that plague it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually going to New Orleans in a few months. So yeah.
Which month?
October, the beginning of October.
Okay. I'm going to January.
Okay.
I go for my birthday. I don't know, Tay. So let's wrap up. Where can anything that you want to plug? I'm going to switch up my plugs a little bit. Anything that you want to plug, your socials, anything in particular you want to plug, feel free. Now's your time.
I'm going to do a few things here. So you initially told me to make a list of my 3 things to check.
Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. My 3 favorite things in Baltimore for food. I may or may not have another 3 lists. So, Water for Chocolate, sweet potato polenta, I love. Water for Chocolate's great. I always love their stuff. I'm super excited because I think they're opening back up soon. They were only carry out. Everything from them is great. Have you ever been to Water for Chocolate?
I'm working on an interview with Sean. Haven't been yet though.
Okay.
But I'm working on an interview. Yeah, I live not far from it.
If you like Cajun food, you'll like it. It's great. It's like Cajun Jamaican influence, but then all kinds of other stuff. It's awesome. I tend to lean, this is not by design. I just realized that all 3 things are vegetarian. I'm not vegetarian, but I am a at-home vegetarian, and I try and reduce meat consumption. So these, you don't need meat to necessarily make a great dish. So sweet potato polenta, water for chocolate, awesome. Ekiben is another place that everybody loves. The chicken is what everybody likes. The tofu is actually better, though, I have to say. Their tofu is amazing. Especially the tofu bun. It's a little messy. So if you want more of a bun, like a sandwich, I love their tofu bun. But the tofu on rice is so good. It's honestly like one of my favorite things. If there's ever a situation where like my wife is doing something and I have dinner by myself and I'm like, ooh, I can do anything I want, usually Ekiben is what I want to do. And then another one, they haven't had it recently, but like Quamta Duvan, it's in Station North on Maryland Avenue.
Yeah.
Still aren't open. They're still doing carry out. I haven't seen it in a while, but their French lentils are one of my favorite things I've ever had. I don't understand how it's so good because it's like lentils and like pickled onions. Phenomenal.
That was a great suggestions, actually.
Yeah, so those are some good ones. I even made a coffee list. I don't know if you want to,
Oh, keep going.
Coffee, let's keep going. Favorite coffee, Sophomore. We already talked about. Chris is the best. We all know this. Sophomore is great. Cafe de Leon, I mentioned. Their oat pecan chocolate cookie is one of my favorite things in the world.
Same.
I'm not a big sweets person, but that cookie is magic. And their tamago sandwich, or tamago sando, which is the egg one.
Yeah.
I first saw it, I was like, come on, like this looks cool. And people are like stoked about it because it's going to look good in an Instagram picture. And I ate it and I was like, nope, it's actually that good.
I'll say, so my girlfriend, she doesn't like broccoli. And so
that broccoli melt though.
That's what I'm getting at. So we go there, I think it was on the 4th of July, and I was like, hey, let's go get brunch or what have you, because I'm headed to go grill food. And I was like, I need to eat something before I grill, because then I'm just gonna eat a bunch of meat and that's not gonna be great. So I get the broccoli melt and it's fire. And she gets the tamago and she's like, okay, this is actually really good. She's like, this egg in the center for these Instagram pictures, this is literally what she said.
Yeah.
She's like, a little overwhelming, but she's like, this is a really good sandwich.
No, they do phenomenal stuff. They're all like culinary trained chefs too. Like they're not just like people who just came out of nowhere.
Oh, wow.
They do awesome stuff. And then probably my favorite coffee to take home, I actually just opened a bag today. I love Wondu's coffee in general, and they're already which you can buy. I mean, their coffee there in the shop is great, but it's an Ethiopian coffee, and I love Ethiopian coffee. Is one of the best coffees, I think, and I think they're great. So those are my 3 coffee shop recommendations.
I go there on Saturdays. I know you don't like the sweets, but that Dalgona, it's a latte that they have, and it's like caramel, like sponge sugar.
Oh, nice.
It's delicious.
I also know they do a horchata latte, and I actually have ordered it before, and they were out.
Yeah. Oh no!
Yeah, I think they were just trying to mess with me.
That's me with bread pudding. Any place that has bread pudding, it's like, oh yeah, we just sold our last one. Or even this. This was last week. It was actually really funny. I like Pie Time, and I go there, and whenever they have something that's new, because the chef, he's a mad scientist, and he had what was that? It's like peach cinnamon rolls. And I was like, okay, these are delicious. Yeah. So I go there and I see they have this new thing on there. I was like, got to get this. And they had these coffee cake buns. It's like, come on, guys, what are you doing? So it was a lady who was in front of my brother and I, and we went at breakfast because I kept talking about, man, we're going to get some quiche. Quiche is great. Let's get this quiche. There are 2 quiches left, the little mini ones. And the ladies in front of us, she bought maybe $100 worth of pie, and including the last 2 quiches. And me and the lady who was behind me and my brother, all 3 of us was like, no, what are we going to eat? It's like, I'll just have coffee and leave. That's how it was.
Yep. Sometimes it just,
just a little late for the quiche. Yep. Any other thing that you got before we,
a few other things here real quick.
Please.
So I just, I didn't really get to talk about this, so just a little bit of a go back, but something that's really important to me, and I urge all other people to do this, pay attention to what restaurants do. There are a lot of restaurants that do a lot of shitty stuff. And it always breaks my heart when I see it. I mean, there's a certain group in Harbor East that is notorious for their bigotry and just general treatment of humans in general. And there's also another restaurant I really love. I won't name names here, and had some pretty disgusting accusations against them and kind of sworn them off since. And few breweries having a few issues. And I think that it's important that people just, you don't need to be like me, but just do some preliminary research before you go to places. Don't just start going to a place because, somebody said it was cool. Just put a little bit of thought into it. Because there are a lot of great places out there and a lot of good people who really do a lot of great work. And I think it's really important to support those people. You can follow me on Instagram. It's Andrew, ANDREW _. There is an underscore in there. I wish it wasn't. Cosentino. That's a tough name to spell. That's COSENTINO. If you can't tell, I've read that before. And the other thing, I feel a little uncomfortable saying this. Please consult your healthcare professionals. But I would highly encourage you to pursue getting a vaccine so we can get over this pandemic as soon as possible. I'm not a doctor, and you shouldn't listen to me, but you should consult a healthcare person to, if you have questions and stuff. I know that they have most of the answers for you. So if you're hesitant, if you're worried, don't be scared. I'm vaccinated. I'm still alive. I haven't grown any third arms or anything. So I think that's a very important thing as well. Once again, not really my expertise, but I still think it's important.
Yes, absolutely. All well said. Definitely on those last two pieces. And thank you for taking that opportunity to plug away something that actually matters outside of self-promotion. It matters in the sense of, as far as the greater good, as far as just check into it, check into this whole vax thing. I'm vaxxed and I haven't grown, at least I think. I can't see what's behind me. I haven't grown an extra arm or anything. Yeah. And also, I think here and just overall, know where you're investing your money, know who you're investing in, and being involved with, because, once I find out about certain things, like one of the places that you mentioned, my last birthday dinner happened to be there before all of this goofy shit happened. And I was like, oh, I wish I could unsushi myself. I had great sushi there, and I was like, I'd rather not have gone there, because it's just attached to this.
Okay.
Yeah.
It kind of. I had a situation like that. I went to a place and posted a picture, and somebody's like, "Did you hear what happened?" And I was so upset. I couldn't sleep for 2 days because I was so upset about it. This is me, embracing it a little too. I think I get a little too personally involved in it. But yeah, it's just really disappointing when you see stuff like that, because there's so many great places in the city and people who really care about others. And so
I'm going to wrap up there. And I think that's a good place for us to wrap. But this has been great, actually. This is a good way to do my
everybody
Friday.
Out there, explore Baltimore, enjoy the restaurants, and have fun in the city.
So for Andrew Cosentino, I am Rob Lee, saying that there's art, food, people writing about it, people talking about it, people taking pictures in and around Baltimore. You just got to look for it.